and he wasn't a king. He was a dictator or whatever.
Yeah.
Benevolent dictator. So
I don't think he was benevolent.
Gaddafi? This is what hear me out. Okay. I'm pulling this straight out of my butt.
The case that Gaddafi hit?
I'm not making this case. Somebody else did, and I read it, and I was like, God damn, seems like he might have hit. So,
okay. Anyway, well, I mean, I'm pretty Gaddafi dumb, but I definitely always gotten the impression that he did not. While What's up, Airheads? Welcome back. It's time for a special edition of Puttin on Air special, in that we're not exactly in the virtual Airstream studios. I guess wherever we are at is the virtual Airstream
technically
studios.
It's like Air Force One.
Yes, but I am in my usual surroundings, but Cho this time is the one who's coming to us from parts unknown. Where you at over there?
I am in shooting distance of the biggest goddamn Bass Pro Shop in the world, Trae, the Pyramid. I am in Memphis, Tennessee, Elvis's home. Well, his where his home is, not his actual home. He's from Mississippi, but you feel me.
Yeah, I do like that you led with the Bass Pro. That makes sense. I'm sure I told you. I mean, I know I did, but it was years ago, and I don't remember if I ever told it on this show or not. One of the most like dumbfoundingly stupid things I've ever heard a person say in my life.
Well, this is going to be good.
Like, just like stops you in your tracks, R-worded, right? Was in Memphis. We were going, I think we were there because my sister-in-law was graduating from pharmacy school in Memphis, I think. And then we went into the Memphis Visitors Center, you know, like every city's got a visitor center, I guess. And I think we just stopped in there to like use the bathroom on our way to somewhere else or before we left or something like that. But there's, as you might imagine, there's a huge statue of Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk in the door of the Memphis Visitors Center, like front and center, it's the
as there should be,
as it should be, centerpiece of the whole thing. Katie was in the bathroom. I'm just sitting there forlornly, as I'm wont to do. That's how I often sit, forlornly, on the bench. There's like a circular bench around the statue, and I'm sitting there waiting on Katie to come out of the bathroom. And behind me, like in front of the statue, I hear this old redneck, like old boy voice go, "Who's that douchebag?" Right? and
looking at you,
and then his son, a child that was with him, his son, or farmhand or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a 14-year-old country boy goes, "I'm pretty sure that's Elvis Presley." And the dude goes,
one of the most recognizable
humans that's ever lived
on the face of the earth.
Yeah, right.
I got two things on that. Number one, you said Katie's sister was graduating from pharmacy school.
Yeah.
Do you think that in the South, when one of your relatives graduates from pharmacy school, it's the equivalent of when your cousin makes it to the NFL? You know what I mean? With like people coming up, like just hollering at him, like people coming out of the woodwork. You're like, "Hey, by the way, I know that we ain't talked in a long time, but I heard you graduated pharmacy school, baby."
I know that happens.
Because you did it.
Like, it for sure happens. I mean, probably. Just the other day, like, I didn't do it because I ended up feeling weird about it. I don't know. I shouldn't even say this because Katie listens to this goddamn show. So now she's going to know that I almost asked her. But like literally yesterday or the day before, very, very recently, I almost asked Katie, like, "Hey, can you ask your sister about like testosterone?"
Yeah.
You know, like getting testosterone, if there's a way to just get it. Or whatever, because right. Because I've gotten the impression that like there's totally a way to get it, and I was like, she would know, but I didn't ask because it's like, whatever. I don't want to be the dude that you're talking about.
Yeah, you're different though. You know her. I'm talking about like
people coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, dude. Because like I say very famously, like at least with like I've told you a million times, like I only really know my immediate family, and like everybody on my dad's side, like I've never known them. They never wanted nothing to do with me. And as soon as we wrote the first book, and nobody led with money, but like it's like, what else are you you're talking to me after 30 years or whatever. But I would definitely do that. If I had a relative that was at a pharmacy, it's funny because I go, well, yeah, you wouldn't do that because you're not fucking white trash. I don't consider myself that anymore, but I'd definitely be like, now listen, my doctor won't prescribe this shit, but like, what can we do here?
Yeah, but here, I mean, obviously, like, it's like they can, but they'll also go to jail if they get caught or whatever. It's like, but they, like I guess they will now. I mean, I've talked before about Big Bob, Big Bob, the dude in Salina who owned a menagerie of wild animals, and also was 400 pounds and very gay and would bring like Puerto Rican male prostitutes to high school ball games and all that stuff. Wild motherfucker. He was a pharmacist in town, and like
I always forget that.
Yeah, and that's how he how you think he got them, boy
Puerto Rican boy. Yeah, no,
right,
it makes so much sense.
Like and that's what I'm saying. Like everybody knew it, and he got raided multiple times. And I think finally he he's also the one that was in that fierce custody battle for his monkey. His monkey got
Carlos.
He was in court over Carlos the monkey getting custody of him. So yeah. I think maybe finally he got shut down, but dude, he was a pharmacist there for like 20 something years with all this just happening in broad daylight. But not only just people knowing it, like again, there were raids and stuff.
Yeah.
The
good thing about it is that like in a town like that, nobody's going to snitch because it'll fuck their plug up. You know what I'm saying?
When I say there were raids, it wasn't just like 3 pharmacies at once got raided. It was like, first of all, there shouldn't even be 3 pharmacies in Salina, Tennessee, given the size of it.
That's like the check cashing places, dude.
That's exactly what was. Yeah, that's exactly what was going on. Just pill factories, buddy. But I wanted to ask. Before I even do this. This is something that all over the internet. This has been talked about, but I just want to talk to you about it specifically. Okay. So I don't care that it's been covered by so many other people.
I probably don't know it.
No, I guarantee you know it. And in fact, stop me if we've literally talked about it on here. I know we've talked about Winston Churchill over the years.
I've got a Churchill quote. I've got a Churchill clip for this episode. Go ahead.
A clip? Okay. But what I wanted to do is go over with you his like daily regiment.
We've not. We've talked about what's his faces.
You're sure?
I'm positive because I know because I've wanted to talk about
it. Definitely seems like something we would have done.
I know.
I didn't think we had done it either.
No. We've talked about who is the gonzo journalist, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Hunter S. Thompson.
We've talked about his, and I know we've talked about his because I then later saw Churchill's, and I was like, oh, we should do that.
And I remember once on Well Read, we went over a sumo wrestler's daily diet because that got us into that whole thing that, of course, we never did. We were like, we're going to go to Chicago and try to consume this many calories in a day in Chicago. And then we were drunk and then just never thought of that again.
Yeah. Well, let's please do this. And also afterwards, I have a really hitting. It's an Orson Welles clip, but he's talking about Churchill. So it's like double hits for me.
Orson Welles, it's weird you bring him up too. Cause he got a book. Have you read it? Like,
no, I've heard
he's got this like well-known book. It's like supposed to be wild and hilarious because he's such a character.
It's criticism and stuff, isn't it?
I can't remember what it's. I think it's like anecdotes and stories and essays and stuff from Orson Welles about just his time and hitting and being a a hitter, big fat hitter. Yeah, and it's supposed to be real good. And I was just thinking like yesterday how I need to track that book down. But anyway, I just want to see how far into this you think you could go. Or if not, all the way.
Also, you got to give me like now is different than how far I could go. If you say 26-year-old Corey, I bet you I can get pretty deep into it.
Sure, but also keep in mind that he was 60 something.
Yeah,
when he was doing this.
Yeah, and leading wars.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly. So anyway, it says he would wake up at 7:30, but he would stay in bed. Like reading the newspaper and working, I guess, maybe making calls or taking notes and stuff like that. You know what's funny is I don't think I've told you this. I didn't know he did that, and I don't be drinking in bed. But like I've started doing this.
I do this too.
When I've got I realized I had kind of always been doing it with like busy work shit that's like travel logistics, like figuring out where I'm going to stay and what flight I want and stuff. Like I do that as soon I wake up in the morning, I grab my phone and I do all my like travel itinerary stuff for any tour dates or whatever. And I realized I would do that and then I would get out of bed and it would be 9:30 or 10, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ. But then I'd be like, well, but
I got work done.
You were like literally doing actual work the whole time you're in bed. And once I like realized that, anything I can do in bed in the morning, I just kind of do. Like when I've got a writing deadline for this Audible thing I'm working on or whatever, I keep my laptop by the bed. As soon as I wake up, I just grab my laptop and I don't get out of bed until I get my pages done or whatever. And I find that it hits super hard.
Well, dude, I think that Winston Churchill was literally the person who started the quote, why stand when you can sit? Right. I think that was him. And it's it's true.
And I think it would hit even harder if I was, getting drunk while doing it. It says here, glass of whiskey and soda. Now,
yeah, splash of soda.
Right. I'm sure you would think, but it's
probably scotch.
Then it says he gets up at 11, right? So he gets out of bed at 11. So if he wakes up at 7:30, if it's genuine, even if it's a big pour of whiskey, one whiskey and soda from 7:30 to 11, that's not that bad. I mean, even though it's in the morning, that's not that crazy.
Because he's reading multiple newspapers, by the way. So it's going to take that long. You know what I mean? He's got to not only read what's going on in Britain, he's got to read the German shit. So one whiskey, that's light work.
11 o'clock, he gets out of bed, strolls around his garden, supervising his estate.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't know if he's just
look how hard this hits.
Yeah, right. That still hits. So does that. Yeah. Or if it's fucking yelling at some peasant to get off her ass and tend to the azaleas or whatever.
You're not pretending to be a gnome,
right? Yeah. So he does that and has another whiskey and soda at 1300, so at 1 p.m. He has a multi-course lunch and an imperial pint of champagne. Now,
I don't know what that is. That's a big one, right?
I mean, we use imperial units, so a pint here,
just a pint.
I guess. I mean, yeah, because America uses imperial units, and it's you get a pint ain't that much, especially champagne. I mean, a pint of, you get if you order a pint of vodka at a liquor store, what is it? Like that big? Something like that?
I mean, it's a mug of beer.
Right. Yeah.
So far I could do this.
Right. Yeah. And then he says, so, I mean, according to this, that multi-course lunch and the imperial pint of champagne takes 2.5 hours. Which
now see, okay, now we need to stop for just a second, because it's I'm only going to be answering, could I do this, based on what it is he does after that multi-course lunch? Because when I have a multi-course lunch, it's not to get energized to then have a productive day. It's to waller.
Bro, people I know that literally the way human bodies work is that food provides energy, right?
Yeah,
in the form of calories.
If you feel bad, yeah.
But when it's and when people act like, oh, I need to eat something so I can have energy to go throughout the day. Yeah. I'm like, if I eat something, my day's over.
Yeah, because we
not
eat
literally
so wrong.
Every time, but if I had a 2.5 hour multi-course lunch, I'm getting right back into bed. I can't do nothing. This is the whole reason why we have the window, which is our terminology for why we don't eat before a comedy show. We don't eat.
Have you eaten today?
If it's more than I just drank a protein shake, and then
I ain't eating shit.
I wouldn't have. I mean, I normally eat at about 1 o'clock too, same time as Winston Churchill, but I eat a small lunch, and then at dinner I defile myself is what I do. As a general rule of thumb. But anyway, it says, so 2.5 hours later, he goes to his study and works. It's fun. I didn't realize that he was working from home back then.
Yeah, that rules.
It does hit, but it's what's he, I mean.
How does he do that?
Well, he's the type of
he'd be sending pigeons.
He can just right. That's what he can just tell. I was going to say tell somebody, but he can just tell a pigeon to tell somebody to do something. You know what I mean? Fire this person, make this hit, tell the leader of Prussia to get off his high horse, whatever.
Yeah. Hey, quick aside, because I just have to say this because we'll forget it. Did you see that video that was going around where this dude was talking about how the sad life of pigeons, because pigeons are technically like dogs and cats, domesticated, except for we have no use for them anymore, which is why they just bob around cities hoping that we'll drop a fucking apple core. Because we trained them, we brought them in, and then all of a sudden we got regular mail and they need us to survive.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that, but yeah, that checks out because it's like, yeah, they used to be the male, right?
Yeah, they used to be the male. We fired them.
We fired them for being
and they're literally
males.
Homeless,
right? And then and that did hit, as we said before, the male hits. Male does hit. Don't miss the pigeons. Yeah, the pigeon. You know, I remember when I found out that the way that worked was that like
they always come home.
Yes, right. Yeah. Like you had different towns, different.
You can't just whisper an address to a pigeon,
right? No, yeah, they had different like castle keeps filled with pigeons, and it was like one pigeon was raised, and in that castle, like at Stokeworth Castle, or whatever the hell, they had their pigeon man up in the pigeon tower, the rookery, I believe it was called.
It's called a rookery,
right? Raising all the male birds, and then and then they would have to ship them off to all the other castle keeps in the area. Like this pigeon goes to, with
like a little red tassel on him.
Yeah. Hasselbeer upon Twine or whatever. And this one goes to Duke's. And then, and they all go there. And then whenever that place needs to send a message back to Stokesworth, they get the Stokesworth bird from their rookery and just tie a letter to its leg, and then he flies home instinctually, which makes way more sense than
whatever we thought.
I thought before that they were just, whispering to
Harrenhal, motherfucker, too sweet.
Right.
Step on it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry. We were at Winston Churchill telling Prussia to get off their high horse during his work at home.
I found a different source. This one hits harder for me. It's the same thing, but it goes into more details. So this one says at breakfast, it's like, it says an eye opener of Johnny Walker Red, and it says
an eye opener.
Yes, it says just a splash of the liquor mixed with soda water, but it also says he drinks them continuously throughout the morning. Not that it's just one.
Right.
It says he would average between 1 and 3 ounces of alcohol before lunch. Apparently, he developed a taste for this as a young soldier stationed in what is now Pakistan. Because Scotch not only improved the flavor of their water, once he got the knack of it, the very repulsion from the flavor developed an attraction of its own. And then at lunchtime, an ambitious quota of champagne.
Ambitious.
He had a preferred brand. It was Pol Roger. Pol Roger, which that he is estimated to have drank 42,000 bottles of in his lifetime.
Bet.
When he died in 1965, Paul Roger ordered black bordered labels to be placed on every bottle of champagne they made in honor of Winston Churchill.
Boy, we could only dream to be that drunk.
That's proper drunk propers right there. Yep. He drank his imperial pint of champagne from a silver tankard, like a proper Edwardian gent. And now is that like what's them called? Is that like a goblet?
I think so. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. A tankard is like
silver tankard.
I don't think they're rounded though. I think they're more like a flute.
It's it's like a
stein,
like a beer stein, but it's made out of silver.
Yeah. That hits.
That does hit.
We ought get those. Yeah. I was going to say we ought have those and also sell them.
Yeah. That does hit. Let's see here. Lunch concludes with a cognac.
Oh, he's still at lunch.
Yeah. Lunch concludes with a cognac to settle the stomach and begin the digestion process.
Yeah.
And then this says he has an afternoon nap.
Yeah, I bet.
So there you go. He allowed himself as much as 90 minutes to clear the cobwebs. And then tea
woke up hungover as fuck.
Afternoon tea, in which he had another steady stream of those scotch and sodas that we were talking about earlier. And then at dinner, more champagne and cognac.
Do you think he's one of those 0.5 percenters like Robbie is, where they're the type, like they literally don't get hungover? Like when you hear shit like this, aren't you like, that has to be, otherwise how?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, once people get pickled, it's like
you have to do it.
You have to do it or
you'll die.
You've kind of always got it in your body, which means you're kind of never hungover.
Right.
And you're running on it.
Right.
But also most people that's pickled, don't hit no more.
Right. And
but
he hit.
He was like winning World War II and stuff. So that's pretty wild. Also, not to mention he was smoking cigars the whole time.
Yeah, of course.
So anyway, I don't know. These are pissing me off because it's like he just, and I guess it changed day to day. Probably, it probably varied how many of those scotch and sodas he would have.
Yeah, because some days he'd go way harder.
Right. But do you know that his doctor like wrote him notes and stuff about how he had to be drunk? Like he got a doctor's note.
Doctor's orders. He must be
doctor's
fucked
orders.
up.
This guy must be drunk. Yeah.
He can't handle Hitler without a couple pints.
That's literally true. Why do you think, given the time frame of when he was operating, that he might have needed such a thing?
Well, I mean, I would say that it was, during the war and he was super stressed the fuck out. And also the doctor was probably like, listen, he's such an alcoholic that if he doesn't drink, he'll get the DTs and he won't be able to function. And therefore our head of state will lose this goddamn war.
Right. But who's stopping him? Like, why does he need a doctor's note? Who's stopping Winston Churchill from drinking?
The fucking Queen?
No.
FDR was trying to get him to quit drinking.
Closer. It's not exactly the situation, but
NATO?
Sort of. It was when he would come to America to do shit over here because of prohibition.
Prohibition.
When he would come over here during prohibition, he, it's not legal to drink, but he's a head of state and he would bring a doctor's note that says, no, he got to be drunk. Because actually, and I'm glad that I remembered to bring that up because I did not know this. I found this very fascinating because I'd never heard this. That was like an established system at the time in Prohibition America. First of all, we know there was like speakeasies and we know people was drinking, especially rich people. We know, was
never
stayed
stopped
drinking during Prohibition, but, it was kind of like the way medical marijuana used to be for a while in like California and stuff like that. Like you could get like prescriptions for liquor and go to like the equivalent of like dispensaries,
right?
Like licensed places that were allowed to sell liquor, but only for medicinal purposes.
Yeah.
And just like with the way, again, weed is totally legal in California here, but I moved here. There was about a year or two left of the old system when I moved here of like, you had to go to the doctor and stuff. And just like with that, it was doctors you could go to and just,
I got glaucoma,
pay them a fee, right? Like you bring the money and be like, I
don't
sleep good.
Yeah.
And the doctor would be like, prescribe you, 2 shots of whiskey before bed every night or whatever.
Right.
And you could go and get drunk that way. So a lot of people were abusing that. But did you know that was a thing?
Now that you say that about
it does make sense.
Well, it makes sense, but also I do believe that after you said that about Churchill, I think I sort of remembered that note, but it had gone out of my brain. And no, I didn't with Churchill. It makes sense because I'm like, well, yeah, a super hitter. He's just got a license to hit. You know what I mean? It's like you come to America, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But no, I didn't know that for regular people, it was like that. Like you could just be like, hey, he's got a cough, so he needs some liquor. That's kind of crazy to me. But
the note itself for Winston Churchill said, this is to certify that the post-accident convalescence of the Honorable Winston Churchill necessitates the use of alcoholic spirits, especially at mealtime. The quantity is naturally indefinite, but the minimum requirements would be 250 cubic centimeters.
Oh, damn. Dude, when you measure in alcohol in length, motherfucker, you goddamn.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what that amounts to in liquid terms either.
I need about a mile of booze.
But anyway, I don't know. Do you think you could, you think you just drank and eat and smoke all day? I mean,
no,
could,
again,
do you think you could hit while doing that?
I think here's what I think. And I've always thought this, if I was, let's say hypothetically, I was already at Ron White's status. I was already there. You know what I mean? Then I could afford to have all these people doing the things that would once require me to have energy and stuff. And if all I had to do was stumble and be funny and hit, I do kind of think I could do it. But I will never get to that point if I'm doing it already. But then, as you said, like there's some people, and we used to believe this of me, that I just had the Burt Kreischer, Mickey Mantle thing or whatever. But turns out I was just in my 20s. You know what I mean? Turns out I was just in my 20s and I had it for a little bit longer than y'all did. Now, dude, abso-fucking-lutely not. Like I require so much commitment to my health, both mental and physically, to run at 68%. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm still never 100%. Like, dude, if I wake up and I go, I think I'm at 75%, I'll throw a fucking parade. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. So like, I don't know. Like, obviously, if I was already rich and didn't need to do, like, yeah, I romanticize like the once you got your affairs in order, just staying in a bathrobe all day and drinking. But like, no, not be productive. Fuck no, dude.
Right.
I can't even do this on vacation. Like how he's living, I can't even do when I ain't got shit to do.
He fucking lived to 90 years old.
It's unreal. It's unreal.
Like,
that also shows you how much healthcare matters and getting the good kind.
Yeah, but the thing is, that was so long ago that like healthcare, and I know that they weren't still like fucking using leeches and you know hair wrong cough syrup and stuff. I don't know.
He still had the best.
When he was a kid, it was hair wrong cough syrup.
Yeah, dude, he was born right after the Civil War.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, hell, it's not like it wasn't, I don't feel like it was like it is now. He had the best available at the time, but at the time still didn't hit.
No, you're correct.
I think it's a good example people just got it. That thing of
genes.
Yeah, the first person I remember hearing say it was Lewis Black in a stand-up bit he had, but I'm sure other people had said it or pointed out before, but he was saying how, like, you know, health is like fingerprints. Yeah. Like everybody's is completely different. He's like, something that could kill me dead in 3 years' time, you could do till you're 90 years old and vice versa or whatever. And it's like, at the time, I feel like I heard that when I was like 19 or 20, and I was like, that's an interesting idea, but that ain't really true, right? I mean,
it's so true.
They whatever, but it's like, that's 100% true. Like, dude, some people just, I mean, even just like we talk about weed. I was watching a show last night, and there's a character of the show going through an extremely, extremely stressful time in their life. And so they're smoking a lot of weed to cope with it. And
I'm just Baby Reindeer.
No, I mean, I've seen that show too, but it was like, it just, anytime I say that, that's a common trope in movies.
Yeah.
It's like, that would be like exacerbating my problems 100-fold if I smoked weed while in the midst of a crisis, but it don't affect other people the same way it affects me.
No, you know? I was watching The Boys actually, and like there was a scene where like Frenchie and like they, you know, they're all at war, right?
And Starlight says, "I'm going to go get the weed out of the desk."
Yeah, yeah,
that's the same scene I'm talking about.
Yeah, yes. When I saw it, I was like, "Y'all can get high right now," but you're right. And the thing is, it's like the reason it's a trope is because that's true for a lot of people, and I just cannot. I can't fathom that, dude. No, it's absolutely unbelievable. But like going back to the health thing, it's like I was talking about, like, oh, well, he had the best of healthcare or whatever. Well, my grandmother, who lived to 96, didn't have the best. She was poor, so she didn't have the best of healthcare. But the thing is that it wouldn't have mattered what kind of healthcare she had because she never went to the doctor and was never in her life on medication. Ever one time was she on medication. At the very end, when she got Alzheimer's and couldn't remember where the fuck she was, when we had to put her in a place, I'm sure they were giving her something. But bro, we're talking she's 95 at this fucking point. She never drank water a day in her goddamn life. She ate fucking bacon grease every fucking day. She never exercised. She sat on her goddamn porch and drank Coca-Cola. Now, granted, she never smoked, she never drank. But like just the things that she ate, any fucking doctor now would be like, if you live like that, you will not make it to 52.
Right.
You know? And here she is. And it's like, I'm her blood, and that ain't true for me. It's not true for me at all.
Yeah, I don't know. It do be weird. I know you've got some stuff you want to do. There's one more thing I just wanted to show you. But
is he done with his day?
Yeah, we got through it, I think.
Okay.
And that's what, but we're like, you have a Winston Churchill thing that's related. So, okay. After that, I have one more totally unrelated thing, but I just want to show it to you, and it will be short.
Okay. Well, I just want you to see this Churchill, Orson Welles thing. This really super hits for me.
Of course, I was immensely impressed with Churchill, but he was quite another thing, you know. He had great humor, great irony. I happened to be in Venice trying to get some money for a movie. And there he was in the hotel at the Lido with Clemmy, his wife. One day at lunch, I came in with a Russian businessman. I was trying to hustle for some money for this picture. And as we passed Mr. Churchill's table, Mr. Churchill saw me and made that little gesture, and the Russian went out of his mind. This is a white Russian, not a red Russian. When he saw that Mr. Churchill not only knew me, but gave a rather special acknowledgement, it was clear to me that I had the money for my picture. So the next morning I was out swimming in the beach, and I found myself paddling in the water right next to Mr. Churchill. And I hadn't gone up to speak to him, but there we were in the water, and I had known him on and off during the war in a humble capacity. And I said, and he had come backstage to see me. And I said, Mr. Churchill, I think you ought to know what you did for me. And I told him about how this acknowledgement had meant so much to me with my financier. And that day at lunch, I came in with a financier again. And Mr. Churchill rose from his chair and bowed.
Isn't that fucking great?
That is great, dude. Now thinking about, like, they presumably like got drunk together.
Oh yeah,
multiple times. Imagine that. Like,
bro,
how hard would that hit? I want that podcast, dude.
Yeah, me too. Like, excuse me, whose butt shall we do this in? We have to be up one of ours.
Yeah.
Is there room in your crevice, Orson, for me?
Dude, Orson Welles, what is that? The way he talked, like, what?
It's that mid. I think what happened was it was probably a lot of code switching type thing. You know how that goes. But I think it was because he started in radio and stuff, you know, like that.
Yeah, it's kind of an old timey radio voice.
Yeah, because and
transferred to everyday life.
I could talk about Orson. I will eventually do an episode because I could talk about him forever. But like that's how he, you know, sort of broke in Hollywood. Was he was doing the radio stuff, and then he was a playwright. But obviously, War of the Worlds is the thing, and that's his voice for War of the Worlds. And I think that he was considered by them the Vunderkind. He's a brilliant guy, and that's how brilliant people are supposed to speak. And I think he just never let it go. You know,
that's what I think too. But that's like, it's wild because like
you don't do that no more.
Like, does anybody like? I'm trying to think, like, because it's like he pulled it off. Like he was like,
oh, he nailed it.
It's like the whole world was like, no, that is how he should speak.
Even though it's not. He's from America,
right? Not just America. Isn't he from like
he's
Wisconsin
from a rural,
or something like that? Right, like Kenosha or something. And but everybody was just like, no, he should talk that way. That hits because just how he is. But it's like, I'm trying to think, are there people that do that now? Like I remember for a while, like Madonna just tried to turn British. I don't know if you remember that, but she just like started speaking British out of nowhere. Just Johnny Depp kind of do that.
Johnny Depp definitely does that.
But I feel like he gets roasted for it from time to time. Like, you know, some people are with it and other people are like, the fuck is he doing?
And perhaps back
what's all this leather bracelet fucking half pirate shit that he's doing in real life? Like,
and perhaps
I mean, he is drunk. He goes hard too.
Oh yeah, he definitely does. It's like it makes sense that him and Hunter S. Thompson were like such boys because I don't think you could be even hypothetically if Hunter S. Thompson, if somehow me or you, if he was alive and we hit for him, I think that after 2 days with us, he would be like, they're not depraved enough for my company.
Agree.
And so Depp really has to fucking go in. But yeah, well, you know what? Let's put a pin in that because I want to do Orson Welles perhaps next week because I got a lot to say.
Okay, well, we were talking about how he talks. I've got a thing about this is exciting development. Scientists in England have been able to recreate the sound of what a mummy would sound like. Like they take a mummy's vocal cords, and through the miracle of modern technology, they could recreate how this mummy would have spoken in real life, which is pretty incredible. It's a window into ancient times.
Okay.
And so I just want to share that with you now. Can you see this?
Yeah, hold on. Okay. Let me click it.
You should be able to hear it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. You ready to hear a mummy talk? Here it goes.
A yin yang twin.
That's it, dude. That's the whole thing. What
Tony
a colossal letdown that. Well, imagine that, like, if that was in, like, I don't know, some kind of like PhD dissertation or something, or some big scientific presentation, because it sounds real, like, you know,
yin yang twinny.
Well, I'm saying the idea of it sounds real impressive and cool or whatever, and then you hit play and it, man.
Hey, can you please?
He sounds like a sim or something.
I know.
It's like it's ridiculous. Here's for the record.
Please don't click out of this.
Okay, a patron of mine sent me this, by the way.
Okay,
and I of course can't remember who it was, and I apologize to them. They sent it a couple weeks ago, and I've had it saved.
So first off, that is hilarious, and it is as that person commented, a colossal letdown, and almost seems like a bit, but it's clearly not because it's Guardian News. This has not been vetted. I don't know what this is going to be like, but can you please play that 50 Cent clip right there? Because he's talking about Ja Rule.
I was in Detroit and I was there for 2 days and we recorded four songs during that time period. Ja said something about M, and he mentioned Haley.
M, you claim your mother's a crackhead and Kim is a known slut, so what's Haley gonna be when she grows up?
I specifically remember this moment because this is when I seen M offended by what he said, because I wasn't intending to say anything about that. I was gonna be quiet about it because I didn't want M to feel like he brought a problem. And I know he didn't understand the severity of what was going on, like in the neighborhood, versus I wasn't going to invite that energy until he said that. And then I was so happy because it was like Friday evening, and he left the recording studio. And then when he got back Monday, I had Automatic Gunfire, the whole CD. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to put this out. And M was listening to it. He says, you did this? What? When did you do this? The whole thing, because he left, I didn't leave. We was there Friday night, all night, Saturday, all day. I was in Detroit and I was there for 2 days and we recorded.
I had always wondered what the etymology of that beef was. And
it seems to me like he already hated Ja before Ja went after him. He needed
permission.
I was about to say, because what he's saying here is that, like, yeah, when Ja went after Eminem, he was pumped because he was like, now I can go in on this dude.
Yeah.
So it still don't really explain why they hated each other to begin with, but that one is, I mean, it's
the best beef of all time.
Don't know, even like 5, 6, maximum 10 years ago, not that long ago, 50 Cent was buying out all the tickets to Ja Rule's concert so nobody would show up.
And he owns his catalog.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he just absolutely destroyed that man. Then, like, somebody wrote an article about him buying those tickets and no one showing up, and there was like a picture of all the empty seats at the Ja Rule show, and 50 took that picture and photoshopped himself in the front row with his legs crossed like this and like posted it on his own Instagram or whatever. It's like, he's so goddamn funny.
We can move on, but the reason I wanted you to, I literally right before this episode, I was thinking about how I remember early on we were like, ooh, we can definitely talk about rap on this show because they are always putting on airs and being fancy and shit like that. And then I saw that and I was like, man, I don't know that we can't cover the Ja Rule 50 Cent beef. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, let's
high level skullduggery going on there. But yeah, the mummy thing, it's just funny to think about, like, I don't know, a mummy rising from the grave and getting all these acolytes and slaves and stuff bowing before him, being like, you know, fucking Imhotep, whatever. You've come to us from beyond the sands of time, cursed soul that you are. What dark wisdom do you have to impart? And then he's just like, man. man.
Make that pussy fart for Tutankhamun.
There's just no way that they actually talked like that.
No.
Like, those scientists have to be wrong, right?
Well, surely
Joe Zimmerman had that bit about they did the same thing with Neanderthals.
Yeah,
and the results of that were similar. It was like like you did a list. Like, I don't know if that's what it was, but it was something disappointing.
Yeah.
So anyway,
do you think it might have something to do with the fact that their vocal cords are mummified,
desiccated?
Yeah, right. They barely work.
Millennia. Yeah. Probably, I would think so. Yeah, you can't just like pour water on it, put their vocal cords in a glass of water like those little shrunken dinosaur things. Well, it's like, oh, now it's back to normal. I don't think that's how mummies work. If that's how mummies work, that would be wild. You just
oh my god! Speaking of dinosaurs,
they're like freeze dried people.
Yeah, I saw that. Do you follow the Reddit shower thoughts or like high thoughts or whatever?
Yeah. Are they still? I felt like they had a fall off. There was a moment in time there where that was one of the biggest subreddits. They were always on the front page, and I felt like they kind of felt like I don't follow them as much anymore.
Like I follow it, so I don't. Maybe I'm not seeing it on the front page. They're just in my recommendeds or whatever. But you just said dinosaurs, and this fucked me. This was a super high thought. It was a meme where it's like the girl's in bed. And she's like, I bet he's thinking about other women. And then it shows the dude's thought cloud.
Yeah.
And he was like, dinosaurs became fossil fuels became petroleum became petroleum plastics. Therefore, plastic dinosaurs are actual dinosaurs. And I was like, holy fuck, that's true. Like plastic dinosaurs are just dinosaurs. Well, let's take a break because I have to pee. And we also have a sponsor. So we'll be right back right after this.
Our next sponsor needs no introduction. You've seen the ads. You've heard us talk about it a million times. And I bet there's a big part of you, big old throbbing part of you that kind of wants to try it. What I'm talking about, Blue Chew. That's right. This ain't your grandpa's blue pill. This is the one, the OG chewable tablet for better sex. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. You sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the US of A, prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part of it all, it's done on the internet there, which means no more visits to the doctor's office, no more awkward wiener conversations, no more waiting in line for your dick pills at the pharmacy, none of that. You can take them anytime, day or night. So you can plan ahead or you can be ready whenever an opportunity comes up. Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Joe, hits for you.
Hits for me so hard. People always ask me, they're like, Corey, does it work? And I'm like, oh my God, it makes my dick harder than trying to control my emotions while on the road away from my son for the first time. It's great. And by the way, even if you're someone who's like, well, my wiener hits, I don't need it. Well, that's fine. But wouldn't you like it if your wiener hit even harder? It's all about confidence. You know what I'm saying? They say that first impressions are important. Well, what about lasting impressions? You know what I'm saying? Like maybe it's your anniversary and you ain't thrown a good wiener in a while and you just won't. It's like you want to call in the closer. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing sexier than confidence, and Blue Chew can help give you that confidence where it counts. I've been using it for 5 or 6 years. You can ask Mrs. Cho. She's very happy with it. Blue Chew wants the entire country rock hard. They told me that's the mission, and they will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, till every tent is pitched, till every rod is raised. Discover your options at bluechew.com. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free. That's not a typo. When you use our promo code POA at checkout, just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code POA to receive your first month absolutely free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. And Trae,
get you a new dick.
Get you a new dick. Skew. Shoo-wee, I'm stove up.
Stove up.
That's what Granny used to say whenever she was like, when her bones didn't hit.
Oh, okay.
I'm all stove up. Which
like
S-T-O-V-E. Yeah.
Stove up.
You'd say I'm stove up. And it's funny because I said that when we got off the bus yesterday. I was like, phew, I'm all stove up. Nobody would know what it meant. But this one girl was like, don't that mean when you got to take a shit? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And she's like, I think it means when you got to take a shit. And so maybe that's what Granny was saying. And she would always say it when she was like, got up. She's like, ooh, I tell you what, I'm stove up. And I always just thought it meant like my bones don't hit.
I got to Google this because your Granny's like well known for no.
Real.
According to Merriam-Webster, stove up means suffering physical discomfort caused by injury, illness, exercise, or overwork. Synonyms: battered or worn out.
Wow.
Horses can be too old and stove up for saddle work.
I'll be damned. Granny was right.
She was right the whole time. Because, what's the other? I shit a glass-eyed squealy
worm? Yeah, that ain't real.
What did that mean?
Yeah, she said it was when she would get surprised. She said, ooh, that like to make me shit a glass-eyed squealy worm, like if, like a bird hit the window or something,
Yeah, this has blown my mind. I can't believe
Well, hell, I'm glad we're here.
It comes from the verb stave, meaning to burst or force a hole into something, as in using a barrel stave.
I didn't know what a barrel stave was.
but why to force a hole into something? What's that got to do with your bones not hitting?
I don't know.
Battered to the point of becoming unusable, stove up, because so like a barrel could be all stove up because I don't know, dude. To stave something in is like to break into, to like burst into.
Right.
You stave in, it got staved in. He stove.
So if it can't be staved, it's stove.
I don't. My girl say so. He fell down on the ice. His nose was all stove up. The car was in an accident, and the hood was all stove in.
Okay.
So I guess it don't just have to be stove up. I don't know. I kind of only have more questions now, but that's I don't think I'd literally ever heard that. When I see some other people on here saying that it's like somebody were claiming it. Some people were saying it's cowboy shit. Some people are saying it started in Pittsburgh. I saw somebody say it started in Maine. It's like, that's weird. It's like, apparently this is just old timey everywhere saying. And this one says rural Northwest. So literally every place claims the old timey phrase stove up, apparently. And I'd never even heard it before.
I love that when you can't, everybody's like, no, that stupid phrase is us.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? I wasn't going to do this, but since we're talking about places that have meanings for things and blah, 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 I do have this clip that I've been wanting to show you for a while. And it's a joke from an old English sketch show or something, talking about how different cultures would handle the exact same situation. And I would like you to see it right now. So I'm going to play that.
England.
English, right? Waiter. There's a fly in my soup.
Oh, yeah.
Angleterre, trois points. France.
Waiter, there is a fly in my soup. Do not worry, sir. The spider on the bread roll will get in.
La France, trois points. Deutschland.
Waiter, there is a fly in my soup. Jewish swine.
Deutschland, 6 Puttin. Israel.
Oh, good.
Leiter, there's a fly in my soup.
That'll be a pound extra, sir.
Israel, Shalosh, quoi? Iran.
Waiter. Yes, sir. There's a fly in my soup. Don't worry, sir. I'll say.
Anyways, I don't know why us talking about stoved up made me think of that, but it's
What
it's a
was
little
the lady
dated.
in between doing?
Yeah, now it's funny.
She's not speaking English.
No, she's not.
But isn't that an English show?
That's what.
But isn't she speaking the same other language the whole time?
Yeah,
I know that
and
she
it sounded
sets up-
German.
Yeah, I don't understand what the lady was
Actually,
doing.
I don't either. I remember thinking about that the first time I saw it, and then I've had it in this little clip thing forever, and I have thought nothing else of it. But
I know that she says like Deutschland, and then they do the Germany scenario. But then when it's over, she says some other foreign language sentence that apparently wraps it up, and then she's like Israel. She goes on to the next one. I want to know what that middle thing is that she's doing.
Yeah, I kind of do too. You know, I'll get back to you on that one. I'll scour that. I'll scour all of that. But a couple things. Number one, Trae, I want to nominate some new people for our fictional kingdom. And I say that because, you had mentioned on here a couple episodes back about how having a king would hit if the king, was on your page.
Yes. So yesterday in our group chat with Smart Mark and also Drew, it's funny to talk about them too, like just that, to say like Smart Mark and Drew,
Yeah.
Makes Drew sound like a real dumbass, which is funny. But anyway,
go on.
In our group chat with them, I woke up yesterday morning to find them talking about how, I guess this tweet had gone sort of viral, was getting passed around, where people were talking about how like feudalism actually hit and all this stuff. And Mark and Drew were like, yeah, That's how insane and stupid everyone is right now. Is we've gone full circle into people actually like wanting kings. That's how dumb people are and how much they've lost their mind. And I was like, actually, I was just talking about how I kind of want a king, and they were like, well, you're a fucking idiot. That's stupid. Why would you think that or whatever? And in response, I posted the video that you talked about on that episode of that old Indian philosopher dude talking about democracy, the people, by the people, for the people. But the people are, dumb.
Right.
Stupid.
He says a way hitting a word.
Yeah. He says they're R-worded. But anyway, I just responded with that and moved on. But yeah. Again, the king has to hit. Like having a not hitting king is not it. It's like the worst. Now you're dealing with fucking Gurbanguly Bertie Muhammadov every day.
That ain't it.
And that ain't it. But like a fucking hidden king who's on the same page and under whom there is peace and prosperity for all. Yeah, give me that. Dude, better than having to deal with these fucking, mouth breathers and their terrible opinions all the goddamn time. They got equal say as I do. I don't like it.
So speaking of Gurbanguly Bertie Muhammadov, I mean, not really. They're from very different places. It's just they both have names that hit for me. I was actually reading something the other day about Omar Gaddafi. His name don't hit quite as hard, but I've always liked how Omar Gaddafi rolls off the tongue. And anyways, I'm speaking purely out of my butt here. I want your opinion since we're here. And he wasn't a king. He was a dictator or whatever.
Yeah.
Benevolent dictator. So
I don't think he was benevolent. Gaddafi?
This is what hear me out. Okay. I'm pulling this straight out of my butt.
In case the Gaddafi hit?
I'm not making this case. Somebody else did. And I read it and I was like, God damn, seems like he might have hit. So,
anyway. Well, I mean, I'm pretty Gaddafi dumb, but I definitely always gotten the impression that he did not.
While I'm talking, pull up, does Omar Gaddafi hit? And maybe there'll be some stuff.
First of all, I thought it was Gaddafi. It is Gaddafi.
So I'm right.
But it's Muammar. It's not Omar. It's Muammar Gaddafi.
I made him black, so that hits.
You did.
Muammar Gaddafi. Anyways, this person was like, there was this. It was a clip, but it was like a chart or whatever, and it was like, this is basically how the Western propaganda machine works. Like, if I was to ask you everything you know about Muammar Gaddafi, you would honestly probably just be like, he don't hit, And I'm like, me too, right? And then I start reading all this shit that this person's putting down about how like Gaddafi, they had like such a great healthcare system, right? And also like he had the world's greatest social security system and that their GDP was actually at a surplus at all times and like all of this fucking great shit. And they were like, and because of that, the fucking America and Israel and all these people were abandoning the US dollar altogether and were getting with like a gold standard or whatever. And they just made this case of like, the reason that you think he don't hit is because he wouldn't play ball with a lot of these westernized countries that rule the fucking world with an iron fist as far as capitalism goes. And so they threw out all this propaganda at you and then fucking had him killed, right? Again, I'm speaking purely out of my ass, but the reason that I was like, this could be true is that the only thing that I know about Muammar Gaddafi is he don't hit. And the only reason I think that is because I've been told that by America people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the only other thing that I thought I knew about him, and this still, the CIA could totally be behind this. This is when we need Smart Mark for sure. But like,
no, he'd ruin it with facts.
He got killed by his own people, I reckon.
Did he?
Well, I just said it could be the CIA too, but that's part of the narrative is that he was part of the Arab Spring, right? Which was like, that was celebrated at the time.
Yeah.
And it ended up, it turns out things still don't hit in the Middle East. Who would have thought that wouldn't take? But anyway, 2011, the Arab Spring, people taking to the streets. We're tired of this shit. And everybody, like the West was like, all right, finally, or whatever. Like, good for them. And Gaddafi was part of that. He was like him getting overthrown by his own people. At least that's how it was presented. Was part of the Arab Spring, and they killed him. So I just always assumed if he didn't hit for his own people that much, he couldn't have hit as like a leader,
Yeah, but it's only his own people. It could just be two people that are his own that he don't.
Well,
hit
it could also
for.
be like there's
like John Wilkes Booth was Abraham Lincoln's people.
I know. Yes, there was people like in Iran. It's like the Ayatollah Khomeini or whatever. He don't hit. He's fundamentalist Muslim. That
does
don't
he
hit
not?
For me.
Yeah. Okay. Right on.
I
don't know anything about it. No, he don't hit. If you don't think he hits, he don't hit.
But before him was a Western-backed puppet Shah that was just installed by the West, by America and the UK, and did their bidding or whatever, and that didn't hit for their people either. But they went from, but they were more, I don't think they were quite as like throw rocks at gay people back then. I'm sure they still had that, but like
not as
so it just depends on your perspective. But I'm saying there were different factions. There were people that were like, no, Shah hits, this is the way we should be. And there were other people like, fuck all that, we should be our own, we should be Allah hit. Shah versus Allah was the big thing. So Allah won, I reckon. I'm talking out of my ass too. I'm just saying it's all a matter of perspective, I guess. I'm pretty Middle East dumb.
I'm very Middle East dumb. and by the way, you can tell I did not prepare to talk about this. It's only because we were talking about feudalism and stuff like that. And you said Gerben Gooley, and then I saw a squirrel, and then here we go. But like, it's funny how when we think about these places, like with the Ayatollah, you're like, oh, the Ayatollah didn't hit for the people, or oh, Gaddafi didn't hit for the people. We just assume that like over there it's so fucking one-sided or whatever, when it's like in our country we don't allow them to be divided. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't allow them to have a 51%, 49% thing. It's like he either hit for the people or he didn't hit for the people. And it's like, that's not how it is here. Why the fuck would that be where it is anywhere? The only difference is like, I'd say that when someone is literally a fucking dictator, it's like, surely that hits the least for most people,
So I just, did some Googling. Libya has their own subreddit, as I'm sure every country does. And an Egyptian popped into Libya to, our Libya subreddit and said, did Gaddafi hit? Why or why
Did he
not?
really?
He said, was Gaddafi a good or bad leader? Why or why not? But, what else does that mean?
Yeah. Does he hit?
And he asked all these questions. Was he good? Was he bad? Was America wrong for it says America killed him. So I guess it was just us who did it. I really thought that was anyway. See, I didn't even.
Shows how much you know.
Yeah. And he says, was he framed? Thank you all. And again, ostensibly, these are Libyans talking here, responding. This guy says that he ruled a country with a population of only 5 to 6 million people, and also the 9th largest oil reserves on the planet.
That's what it is.
But if I blindfolded you and put you on a plane to Libya, you'd think you landed in some mediocre or poor Arab country. We are embarrassingly undeveloped. The infrastructure is abysmal. The healthcare and education systems, although free, are some of the worst in the Arab world. Anytime a Libyan gets sick with anything mildly serious, they cross the border to Tunisia or Egypt for help. The school system don't hit, yada, yada. All the metrics like life expectancy and literacy that were high in Libya and used to praise Gaddafi were just due to welfare policies, which are the bare minimum an oil-rich country like Libya should have. Gaddafi didn't invent the oil. Literally any leader with a quarter of a brain would have implemented the same policies and actually developed the country on top of it. If Sheikh Zayed of the UAE led Libya instead,
United Arab Emirates,
yes, instead, which is where Dubai is.
Yeah, right.
If the guy who leads UAE led Libya instead, then modern day Libya would probably be similar to UAE instead. It's more comparable to Sudan or Yemen. Let's see that. On top of all that, the sanctions he caused to be placed on Libya due to his silly games with the West, the war he started in Chad.
Chad, that's a hilarious country.
I know. I think that Chad's flag is just like a green sheet. Like it's just I'm pretty sure that's Chad, because I remember one time, I haven't thought about this in years. We in my high school. Nope, that ain't Chad. God damn it, whose flag is just green?
Your Google search history is so dumb.
What the hell? I know for a fact it's Libya. That ain't true.
Tell the Chad joke.
It wasn't even a well. Now I know it wasn't. I could have sworn it was Chad. There was this guy.
They changed their flag. It was Chad.
In geography class in high school, there was a dude that I went to school with that everybody called Reefer King,
Nice.
or just Reefer for short. So you can imagine, like,
He got in trouble a lot, didn't
like,
he?
and we had to do. He was better than you'd think, and like he didn't cause too much trouble, but he was definitely like.
I just mean he would probably get interrogated if all the teachers knew that was his nickname.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they'd sort of written old Reefer off as a bit of a lost cause. But anyway, we had to do report. Everybody had to do a report on a African country.
Yeah,
and you had to, like, part of it was you got to cover the flag, and of course it's high school project. You're supposed to like recreate their flag or whatever.
Right.
And whoever had Reefer, I remember Reefer got up there, and just like when it came time to the flag, he just like pulled out this like green bath towel, just like a shitty green bath towel. And it was just like, it's just green. So I had this towel. So pretend that's the flag. And I thought that was Chad, but I guess maybe it wasn't. But anyway, it seems at the very least, it says people online will read a nice quote or two from him about anti-imperialism or Pan-Africanism, read a couple misleading statistics, and instantly conclude.
That's what I've done.
And instantly conclude he was secretly a great leader, made a boogeyman by the West for helping his people, and none of that is true at all. There's a reason during the heat of the war, a good 75 to 85% of Libya was on the side of the revolution.
Okay.
There's a lot of silent contempt for his regime. So, yeah.
This is why this podcast is so great. We're brave enough to not know stuff before we start talking about it. You know what I mean? And I will admit that I'm wrong based on one person in the subreddit of Libya. Anyways, Trae, this all got
so it was fucking Libya. Libya had for a while a flag that was just green. It was Libya that had the green. That's weird because I didn't. That
is weird.
We're talking about. So they used to have a red, white, and black flag, and then for a while they had a just green flag, and then after the Arab Spring in 2011, they changed it back. So no one has the plain green flag anymore. But when I was in high school, it was Libya that had a plain.
Well, that's wild.
Flag, evidently, yeah. So anyway,
well, so we were all talking about how feudalism hits or whatever. You were of that opinion. I just said that Muammar Gaddafi hit, so we both can be wrong. It's fine. But I was thinking about drafting our kingdom or whatever, and I thought of a great king and queen, and I also thought of a couple other people to fill out the their court a little bit. Now I'm going to start with the people that I think should fill out their court, because I have a feeling that once we start talking about my king and queen, we will end up discussing them for a long time, and I may end up having to do more about them next week. So I'll start with who I thought would be a good hand to the king. Dave Wilson. Do you know who Dave Wilson is?
I don't think so. I mean, the name sounds familiar, but it also just sounds like
there's a reason it sounds familiar to you. He was the showrunner on SNL from 1979 to 1995, and
Lorne Michaels is the showrunner at SNL, or
he was the head writer show, like the Tina Fey position or whatever.
Okay,
like even making my point better, he was literally the hand of the king. If Lorne Michaels is the hand of the king, he was this guy. And I was thinking about like any motherfucker, because the eras of 79 to 95, that was when you had Belushi, Farley, like all the most insane lunatic people, yet also some of the most creative and best highly rated episodes there were. So any fucking dude who could keep a lid on all of that shit for that long a period of time would probably be good, somebody good to have on your team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin too.
Because Mike Tomlin has somehow shepherded the lunacy of many an insane athlete and football player of his career, most notably perhaps the most lunatic of all, Antonio Brown, Mr. Big Chest. So yeah, he's also good at that type of thing.
Yeah, so I think he'd be a good hand to the king. Now, for the jester, granted, I put this in my notes a couple of weeks ago when it was a little bit more relevant. However, I got to tell you, I'm still looking at the internet and still captivating everyone, hitting for everyone on both sides, is the Hawk Tua girl. I think she'd be a good one to have around. She
for
seems
what? What position did you say?
Jester.
Yeah.
Jester or just fool, because I think jester and fool were two different things.
Were they?
I think so. Here's what I think, based on nothing. Based on one episode of Game of Thrones, the jester was someone who like was funny but also smart and could critique things because he was the only one allowed to talk shit about the king. And sometimes then they would also have a fool who was literally just a drunk dumbass who like they would just like hit with rocks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Not that they should hit her with rocks, but I don't know. Like, I'm not going to crown her as someone who could be a critiqueful jester because it's not like she does comedy. But she does seem to be someone that whenever she shows up on your timeline, immediately makes your life better and hits for everybody. She's taking it in stride, man. She's having a good time.
Yeah, and I saw her. Somebody had a party for her celebrating her getting 1 million followers.
Yeah.
And all this lunacy was going on around her. It was like a whole crowd of jesters, really. It felt like there was people like juggling and spitting fire, and, it was hoes dancing and people carrying litters with hoes dancing on them. And there's big sign, congrats on 1 million. And she was just standing in the middle of all this, kind of looking a little uncomfortable.
I bet she was, because I've seen videos of her, dude, where she's like just talking and like she seems like a very sweet country girl who was, just drunk in Nashville and did what any sweet country girl would do, was just funny. You know what I mean? Dude, she pulled a page in Kirby is all she did.
Yeah.
Like, and because she did this video where she was like debunking all the things that people were saying about her. Like, she's like, was I a preschool teacher and got fired? Absolutely not. Am I starting an OnlyFans? Absolutely not. And she was being like real sweet about it. And she's like, I may be butchering this, but she was like, y'all, I'm still in the bedroom at my pawpaw's house, and this is where I'm going to stay. And, basically like, I'm going to ride this as long as I can just to take care of me and mine or whatever. And I was like, God damn it. I'm so glad when because normally shit like this cannot hit for me when someone blows up because they'll end up being a piece of shit, or whatever. And I'm like, obviously being the person who just went spit on that thing is not necessarily a sustainable career, but I bet because she was talking about how anybody that's selling merch right now, it's all bootleg, but don't worry, my official merch will be out tomorrow. And this video blew up and I was like, bro, she could absolutely hit enough of a lick just right now to pay off her Paul's house and buy a house for herself, which is good fucking enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It's good fucking enough. Anyways, she just really hits for me. And so far she has not been milkshake ducked, which I think is nice. Kingsguard. Here's who I'm thinking for the Kingsguard. Waffle House employees. Specifically ones from just outside big drunk southern cities such as Nashville, Atlanta, Memphis, New Orleans, and Myrtle Beach. I just feel like I've seen some 110-pound country girls take down some big old boys when they were talking shit in the Waffle House through use of chairs or whatever. And I just feel like that's who I'd want on my team.
Yeah, you don't want the only caveat I had to that is I've also seen the Waffle House employees kind of go at each other a little bit over eggs. And it's like, you can't have that. You can't have your Kingsguard, infighting like that.
You're right. And now that I think about it, sometimes they're the one that starts the shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll put a pin in that, but you feel
one time we were standing in line to pose, me and some friends of mine, all hungover as fuck after a night in Nashville or whatever, eating at a Waffle House. And this, the cash register is right by the dish. They're the sink with like a big power hose in it, like they have in an industrial kitchen. And while my buddy was like paying for his food, another Waffle House waitress was like spraying off plates, and she sprayed the thing straight on the plate, and it just like ricocheted. It just like diverted it directly into his face, right? So she sprays all his like nasty dishwater right in his face. He's all hungover and shit. And he didn't even say, he was just like, and he's like dripping. He looks at her and she just goes, she just laughed and kept going. Didn't even pretend that, that she shouldn't have done that or she gave a shit or anything. It was funny.
That's phenomenal. So yeah, I'll have to put a pin in that because you're right. They might just need to be our frontliners from Flea Bottom whenever the war starts.
Yeah.
Get them united under a common cause against the foreigner or something. Anywho, Master of Coin. And this one may be controversial, but the CEO of the Arizona Iced Tea Drink Company, Trae, the Arizona Iced Tea drinks, the big ones?
Yeah, I know he's like committed to not raising their prices and stuff, but people, because they 99 cents a can, they had the price on the can, but you can order cans straight from Arizona that don't have the price on them, and then you can charge whatever you want to. And he don't support that, but people still do that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I respect the Costco dude. You know about the Costco CEO? Because he's also like that.
I've already mentioned him before.
He once in a meeting told some new dude that was taking over as CFO who wanted to like raise some prices, whatever. He literally said to him, "If you raise the price of the hot dogs, I'll fucking kill you."
Yeah.
Which is super funny.
It's great. But yeah, no, the CEO of Costco super hits for me as well. But I saw an interview, and I should probably mention him, but I had just seen an interview with the CEO of Arizona Iced, and like they were asking about it. They were like, dude, like, this isn't even just us pulling stuff out of our ass. Like, it's just true that with inflation and stuff like that, you're making less money because like prices and stuff have gone up. And he's like, basically said like, yeah, but I still make enough money, And he's like, that don't matter to me. He said, my whole thing is everything else costs so much. People are not getting paid good. All the prices are up. But I just think that one thing you shouldn't have to worry about is a cold drink at the end of a long, hard day. And I was just like, you know what I mean? Like that just really hit for me and he's someone who understands like I still have a great fucking life and make a ton of money. I don't need any more. Right. I would rather just be a good person and have everyone happy with my fucking company. And I thought that would be nice as a fucking master of coin to be like, hey, completely. At the end of the day, we need the people to be happy. Otherwise, they will revolt. Mm-hmm. And perhaps we don't have to throw 9 weddings this year, you know? So that hit for me. King and Queen, however, and this is where, I think this could get a little long, which is fine. I'll stop once I've said them and we do a little riff on them. I think these are the two, King and Queen, and regardless, by the way, of which is the King consort or Queen's consort, it don't matter to me. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. I think they're our best shot, dude.
Okay. I'm thinking through these. Well, maybe not Dave Wilson. I don't know about him because I wasn't aware of that guy to begin with. But the constraints are is you can pull anyone throughout all of time and space.
Yeah.
Everyone else you've named is like currently living and active and doing their thing.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Dave Wilson.
Yeah.
These two dead.
Yeah.
But so in this hypothetical scenario, you could pull these people from their prime and they run shit now and like don't age. They like God emperors. They're immortal. They never.
I think if we just took Lucy and Desi in their prime and let them rule until they died, it would be fine. And then we'd have to find somebody else.
How are they with like gays and black people and stuff? I mean, I know Desi is, a man of color or whatever, right?
So it's interesting you bring that up.
You'd be plucking them from the 50s. It's like what people bring up all the time. It's like if Captain America had come out of that thing, like talking about the Japs and stuff like that. Why wouldn't he have? Because he was back then. This is kind of that situation. I mean, you bringing them from the 50s,
right?
It was a different time.
So I don't know her political stances or anything like that, which I'll get into in a second because it's pretty interesting about Lucille and Desi. But like, she had a lot of her best friends we now know to be gay. You know what I mean? Like throughout, like she was friends with a lot of these playwrights or whatever that like I assume were out to her. You know what I'm saying? Now, Desi, like he was a Cuban American man in the 50s. Who knows? Who fucking now? But but at the same time, though,
pretty good guess.
Right. But at the same time, they were Hollywood, right? They were still Hollywood, which like I think a lot and like for whatever reason you believe, like a lot of people say like, oh, they make you like gay people when you go to Hollywood. Realistically, what happens is you just
gay and you go to Hollywood.
Either you're gay and you go to Hollywood, or you go to Hollywood where it's the first time ever you've been around anybody different than you, and you're around gay people and you realize that they're not monsters, they're human beings. So you go, this is all right, But here's the deal. The reason I think that they would be a good king and queen is, think about what you just said, which is like, hey, this is the 50s now, right? Okay, yeah, this is the 50s. And I'm talking about a woman and a Cuban American man who were on top of the world. in a white man's world, these two right here, the fact that they were able, dude, do you know how fucking much of a boss Lucy was to get Desi as her husband on the show? They did not want it to happen. Like the show,
because he's Cuban, or because
Yes.
he's just like, that's your husband, we're going
no, but specifically because he's Cuban.
Right.
And there's a great quote that illustrates how badass Lucille Ball is, because the reason they got this show was because she was doing radio. I'll do a whole episode on Lucy later, but she had been doing, she was a player at RKO, right? And had been doing films and stuff like that. But as she aged, they stopped using her. So they were like, fucking, you got to go to radio. So she goes to radio and she crushes on this show called My Favorite Husband, I believe it was called, where she essentially played a Lucy type. Well, they want to take that show to television, and it's not based on anybody else there except for how hard Lucy crushed, because they started noticing some stuff in her that, like, the audience reactions would be so much better because Lucy actually used facial expressions and stuff that nobody else in radio did, because they sort of just kind of read their shit. And she's like, well, yeah, but it's to get the audience that is here to laugh, because then people at home will know how hard it hits. And she's like, I think she said she learned it from Jack Benny, the guy with the violin, you know what I mean? Like how he could just like give a look and get like a laugh for like 15 straight seconds. And so anyways, they realize she's the standout. So they're like, CBS is like, we're going to do this show. And they're like, so we'll just take that whole cast. And she's like, no, we're using my husband because we're never around each other, because he's in a traveling, not mariachi, but Cuban rumba band. Mm-hmm. He's going to be on the show. And they were like, what? No. And she's like, okay, ain't going to be no show. And they were like, okay, but you're in this show, your husband is supposed to be the vice president of a bank. Do you think that America's going to believe that Desi would be the vice president of a bank? She goes, Desi would never be the vice president of the bank. He'd own the fucking bank. Thank you very much. And they wanted her real bad. And she was like, this is my deal. And you got to understand that, like, Lucy was not Lucy yet. This is a good deal for her, just getting a show. And she said, absolutely fucking not. They let Desi do it. And obviously we know what happened afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. Well, not only is Lucille Ball such a G in that regard, and a woman going into all these male rooms and just pulling her hypothetical dick out, but Desi ends up he turns out to be one of the greatest businessmen of all time. He's actually running the show in the background, right? Like, Lucy can get whatever she wants from like a creative standpoint, but Desi is the reason that we know now how to light a 3-camera studio, right? Because their first sponsor was Philip Morris, I believe, before it was like Chesterfield cigarettes. And so they were on the East Coast, but they were taping the show on the West Coast. And back then what would happen is you would tape it live in one place, and then they didn't record anything to film, right? Because they just shot the show on regular shit. And how they recorded it was they would then take a camera and put it in front of a TV and record the TV. So it's completely low quality. It's called kinescope. It was called kinescope. So wherever you shot it, they got the high quality shit. But then wherever the time zones where it wasn't shot in, they would then get mailed a kinescope, and it looked fucking terrible. And Desi was like, we can't do that to Philip Morris because they're on the East Coast. We can't give them a shitty version of this show. And they're like, well, the only way to do it would be to shoot it on film, and we're not doing that. And Desi's like, yes, we are. We're absolutely 100% doing that. And they were like, but you can't. Here's the reasons why you can't shoot on film a 3-camera situation. And he's like, no, here's the reasons you think you can't. You've never fucking tried, and we're going to do it. So they get one of Lucy's buddies who's like a lighting expert. He tells Desi, he's like, I really don't think it can be done. And he goes, no, nobody else can do it, but you can. And of course, this fucking guy figures it out. And so not only is I Love Lucy such a great show, the reason, just from a subconscious standpoint, that it sticks out is because it's also, without question, the best looking show on television by a lot. It's basically like if every show was at 480p now and a show came out in 4K. You know what I mean? Like, even if that show was just kind of good, visibly you would go, the production value is amazing here. And all of this is done because a woman and a fucking Cuban American in the 1950s were just like, this how it's gonna be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty baller. You watch that Aaron Sorkin deal?
Yes, I loved it. Loved it. It's very Sorkin-y. There's a lot of stuff
I feel
in
like
it.
it got like mixed reviews or whatever, and then I just never got it. Katie didn't want to watch it, so I just never got around to it.
Well, that whole movie takes place over the course of a week in Lucy and Desi's life, but actually it's the storyline is 3 separate storylines that they just mashed into 1 week because Aaron thought, well, it's whatever. So like from a historically accurate point of view, like it's not at all, because it's like, no, this happened way before this, but they were like, well, we'll just, kind of put them together. But one of the things that they talk about, which I think is an argument in Lucy and Desi's favor, especially Desi's, is that movie focuses on a lot of Lucy got pregnant. And back then, not only could you not be pregnant on TV, you couldn't say the word pregnant. Right. You couldn't say it because then they go, well, then the audience is going to be like, well, how did they get pregnant? And it's going to make them think of sex, which is why you can't have you have to sleep in 2 separate bedrooms, right? Or 2 separate beds. And it's like, and again, I like to point out that this is the era of television that people want to go back to because it wasn't woke, which is hilarious. But anyways, Lucy gets pregnant and they're like, okay, well, we're going to have to film everything really, really quick. And then when she gets to showing, we're going to have to write stuff that hides her, yada, yada, yada. And Desi was like, no, we're not going to do that. And they were like, what do you mean? He goes, we're going to make her pregnancy a storyline because we don't want to have to rush things. And Desi also goes, and I've actually written, he had written out like a timeline. He goes, I have an idea that I'm pretty sure if we time it right, we can get it to where the episode where Lucy gives birth will be on the day that we have a scheduled cesarean section. So it will be the biggest PR stunt of all time, right?
What do you mean? They were going to actually deliver the
No.
baby?
It's just that the news of Lucy giving birth, truthfully, would come out on the same day that episode aired, right?
Okay, yeah. Right.
And it did.
That's
it fucking did, right? So anyways, all these people are like the CBS, Philip Morris, all these people are like, or not, excuse me, not Philip Morris. CBS was like, you can't do it. Philip Morris will never go for it. And they're like, we're just shutting it down right now. And Desi goes, why don't you let me talk to Philip Morris? They're like, or no. They go, well, we'll write a letter to Philip Morris and we'll see how it goes. And Desi's like, okay, whatever. 2 days later, they get a letter back from Philip Morris. Do you want to know, literally, it was 5 words. Do you know what those 5 words were?
Sounds like that shit hits.
Don't fuck with the Cuban.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with the Cuban. That's all they said. And they were like, I guess we're doing this shit. And so because of them, it sort of broke a lot of those Hays Code sort of boundaries, and television started being able to talk about more things just because Desi was like, you're not interrupting my goddamn work life and personal life just because you think America can't handle talking about fucking pregnancy, you goddamn idiots. And Philip Morris was like, we don't fuck with Desi, dude. Like he just does whatever he wants. So point is, and I think I'm going to have to end right here because we have to do our airmail. But point is, the fact that these are 2 non-white males who were able to pull this much dick in the 50s, imagine what they could do in a goddamn kingdom, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with it. I mean, it's like I said, I just, I think you might need a little bit of cultural reprogramming or whatever.
Sure.
I think anybody coming in from the 50s, no matter how hard they hit back then or how not papoy they was, it's still going to be a shock. You see these purple-headed queers we got, they ain't gonna know what to think.
No, I mean, I guess I agree with you there. Anywho, we have some airmail, Trae. Starting off with, of course, our official podcast physician, Kim Casado.
Mm-hmm.
Kim says, subject line, cruises are the balls, capital balls. First off, howdy, Corey and Trae. Take your fucking Metamucil, Corey. I never met a mucil I didn't like. Sounds like y'all have been on some shitty cruises. I'm sorry for that because all the cruises I've been on have rocked. I've been on three Royal Caribbean cruises, and they do well with the food. In the main dining area, you actually have to dress for dinner, and I have never had a bad meal there. The first cruise I went on was an awesome 12-night Mediterranean cruise in May 2021 with my first husband, Scott. God rest his soul for those who want to believe in the magic Sky Daddy. My sister, Gina, her husband, Shane, both from North Carolina, my folks who lived in South Carolina at the time, and from Boston, my Aunt Lou and cousin Donna. Think of a tall, robust, half spaghetti, half baguette woman with the thickest Boston accent you could imagine. Since we were all coming from different places, we all met at JFK to take the red eye to Barcelona, where the cruise embarked. This was the first time Scott met Donna at JFK at 11 p.m. She grabbed him and hugged him and said to him in that thick accent, "This trip is going to be the balls. It's going to be the balls." Scott used "it's going to be the balls" in his best Boston accent to anticipate an enjoyable event for the rest of his life. That cruise was indeed the balls, and Donna got a tasty medium rare ribeye for dinner every night. Your pal, Kim, official gastroenterologist of the Skuniverse. You made it official, Corey. You can't take it back. Can I get a plaque or something? I may not be the balls, but I am most definitely the shit. Kim's wrong. She just doesn't have good taste. Cruises suck.
That's what I was mostly thinking. I can allow for the possibility that a Mediterranean one is different, but she said she's been on 3 and all of them hit, and I need to know where the other ones were at because all the cruises I've been on have been in the Caribbean, but I think they were both Carnival and they did not hit.
No, they don't hit. She don't know what she's talking about. Yeah. Subject line: cigars and East German rednecks. You can say my name. It's pronounced Johannes. Hell yeah. Excuse, my English is my second language. Well, thank you, Johannes. English is basically our second language too. Yep. So don't worry about it. Hey, y'all, I've started listening to your podcast in the beginning of this year and I'm all caught up now. I think that is enough said if I like it or not. Right on. In Germany, as you would say it, the further to the east you get, the more south it gets. Did not know that. I was born and raised in rural Eastern Germany, and a lot of topics that you guys talk about could have happened and very much have happened in my hometown and the area around. So if you ever want to get into the topic of other countries equivalent to Southern people, rednecks, in the U.S., I'm very much here for you. That does it. In a very early episode, you talked about cigars and how you think it's only for putting on airs because you don't actually inhale and it's very expensive. Let me quote from the Wikipedia article on cigars here. Cigar smoke is more alkaline than cigarette smoke and is absorbed more readily by the mucous membrane of the mouth, making it easier for the smoker to absorb nicotine without having to inhale. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is a little more expensive, but it hits really hard for me. So sit by the fire after really nice barbecue or grill, as we in Germany say, have a glass of Lagavulin from the beautiful Isle of Islay, and to slowly puff a tasty and smooth cigar after the children are in bed. I love y'all like a cold beer in the beer garden. Stay fancy. Johannes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Appreciate you, Johannes. That does hit.
That does hit.
Just so you know, Johannes, there's nothing anyone can do with this information, but we tried to develop a TV show about that concept you sort of brought up in the middle there a very long time ago.
Sure did.
Exploring what rednecks look like in other countries. And then it ended in a very humorous fashion that I don't feel comfortable sharing.
Sure did. Did. R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Anyways, I'm not going to tell you the subject line of this because it'll give it away. And here's why it fits the show, because someone sent us an airmail about it and it hits for me. And I know you've seen it, but I don't give a shit. Hey, Trae and Corey, this came across, I don't know. Yeah, I can say her name, Sally. This came across my Instagram feed, and when thinking who all would also appreciate this, you all were on the list, and it might be good stuff for one of the shows /podcast /reels for one of you. Not only is it hilarious and ridiculous, the comments are to die for. Hope it makes you laugh at least. Love you guys. All right, here we go. This is real.
Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for all your blessings. You said in all things give thanks. So we want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. And most of all, we thank you for Roush and Yates partnering to give us the power that we see before us tonight. Thank you for GM Performance Technology and the R07 engines. Thank you for Sunoco Racing Fuel and Goodyear tires that bring performance and power to the track. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. My 2 children, Eli and Emma, or as we like to call them, the little E's. Lord, I pray you bless the drivers and use them tonight. May they put on a performance worthy of this great track. In Jesus' name, boogity, 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 amen.
Bro, it's unbelievable.
That almost makes the Lord hit for me. You know?
I know. That's why I wanted to share it with you, because I was like, I bet you this is the only prayer that will ever hit for you. I love that so goddamn much.
Yeah, that's what's up. He seemed pretty cool. Hope he don't be burning books and stuff.
Maybe do. Maybe do.
Maybe do. Probably do.
Maybe do.
Still also hits in his own way. All right. Well, no, you said you knew that I'd seen that. I had not seen that.
Had you not seen that?
No, I'd not seen
Oh, man, I thought that was ubiquitous amongst us rednecks because it's been sent to me a lot. And I just assumed that it was you that sent it to me. But yeah, like, obviously he's doing a Ricky Bobby thing there, but like, did it, which hits.
Him shouting out all the corporate sponsors and whatnot.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's it. All
Trae,
right.
you're about to do a New York run, ain't you?
Yes, when this comes out, if y'all listen to this when it comes out tonight and tomorrow, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Looney Bin. Then at the end of the month, I got Connecticut, upstate New York, and Brooklyn. 2 shows in Connecticut, or 2 different places. It's a big one at the end of July. And Allie Clayton, who was on the Well Read podcast recently, is very funny from North Carolina, is going to be with me on that. So go to TraeCrowder.com and come see us. Come see me. Likely get buried at my own show by the very funny Allie Clayton. So it'll be a sight to behold.
Yep. Go see Trae. As you're listening to this, tomorrow night, Saturday, I'll be in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'll throw up the ticket link in here. It's the last of a 10-day run that I'm looking forward to getting home to my kid, but Fayetteville's going to super hit. Can't wait. Also go to bonuscorey.com. That's my extra stuff. And if you're a fan of this show, you'll also be a fan of the Dollop, I assume. And I'm on their sister podcast this week, The Pastimes. So go check that out. They just got a nice New York Times article written about them. And I'm very excited for all their new fans to be graced immediately with me talking about farts. So bonuscorey.com and also patreon.com/Trae Crowder. Support us any way you can and stay fan. Oh, and also, if you haven't started, listen to our sister podcast, Little House of the Dragons, me and my sister talking about House of the Dragons. Stay fancy, motherfuckers.
Skew. Here's Lydia Lovelace.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs.